Hello and welcome. I'm Danette Kubanda, and joining me today for a very special Zoom interview is Trish Agel Roberts. She's a self-actualization coach, yoga and meditation instructor, happiness expert, and author of 3 self-help books, including the inspirational journal, 12 Steps to Mind-Blowing Happiness. Thank you so much for being here, Trish.
Thanks, Danette. It's my pleasure. I look forward to talking to you.
So Trish, what would you say is the foundation of self-actualized or deeply happy and fulfilled life? And why is it so important that we find that?
I think everybody wants to have a happy life. You know, it's so important that it was crafted into the Declaration of Independence, this idea of the pursuit of happiness. So I think it's important to everyone. I just sometimes we get so caught up in our day-to-day activities, we kind of forget about it. But the foundation, it really starts with, first of all, healing. So if there is any trauma or dysfunction that you need to work through, that's really the first step. From there, spirituality. And spirituality is not the same as religion. So it doesn't even mean that you need to be a member of a formal religion, but you do need to have a sense of your spiritual self, which is just the you that's separate from kind of this body and this flesh, and have a way to nurture that inner self. And also being able to feel authentic and that you can show up as yourself and love yourself, especially as we work in groups and community. So it's important to be connected, to be part of a community, not to be isolated. And the last piece is really a sense of peacefulness. So freedom from anger, even the kind of lower forms of anger, resentment and jealousy and those kinds of things, impatience. And that all of those wrapped together really create a foundation to build a really joyful, fulfilled, and self-actualized life.
What would you say is the biggest barrier to happiness?
What I found through working with my clients is really this sense of anger, and not just the rage. When people think of anger as yelling, some of the things that I mentioned before, like jealousy, resentment, frustration, disappointment, impatience, all of these kind of simmering undertones, that we have when things don't go our way. They may work themselves up to be yelling and screaming and horn honking, but a lot of times they start off seeming just a little bit more innocent. But I do have a technique that I teach to extinguish anger really in all of its forms, and it's 4 steps. The first one is acknowledging the anger and really recognizing it as separate from you. The second step is deep breathing, because deep breaths really help us to lower our stress levels and give us enough of a pause to make good decisions. The third piece is igniting your empathy. And I find you really have to learn to use your imagination to do that. So sometimes our imagination muscle is a little bit atrophied because when we get to be adults, we don't use our imagination as much. But learning to ignite your empathy. And then the final step is constructive action. So you can go from having something happen that you don't like, kind of go through that process of reframing and releasing anger, and then turning that into productive, good work, So yeah, getting rid of anger is really the biggest, most profound step to move towards a self-actualized life.
I would imagine so. So then what are some simple things that we could do every day to find some happiness?
I wrote an affirmation about a year ago that I love. It's wake up with gratitude, nourish your mind, body, and spirit, work with passion, rest completely, and repeat daily. And I use that as the foundation of my ebook, The Mind-Blowing Happiness Guide to Self-Care. But some of the things you can do during the day just to kind of follow along with that affirmation. First off, wake up with gratitude. Not everybody woke up this morning. So if you woke up, you are ahead of the game. And it's just a nice way to start start your day, just realizing that and appreciating that. And then during the day, things like taking care of your body. We hear a lot of things about, eating whole food, eating plant-based, drinking water. So doing those things, but also, if you have a desk-based job, maybe standing up every hour, just stretching out your legs or taking a walk during lunch, just to kind of take care of your physical body. For your mind, you want to make sure you're feeding your mind some good stuff. So whether it's quality film or quality books, just, some things that are positive that you can bring into your mind. And the spiritual piece, for me, I love to meditate, but meditation is one way. It could be prayer, it could be things like restorative yoga, or even just moments, 5 minutes of stillness that gives you time to kind of center with your spiritual self. And working with passion, I always say if you're going to do a job, show up and do the best that you can, right? So just make sure you're focused and you're present with your work. If it's not the work that you feel really passionate about, make time to do, even if it's a couple hours a week, to pursue something that you are also interested in. And the final piece is you got to get that sleep. So we know we're supposed to stop nibbling, maybe about 2 hours before we go to bed. And maybe some herbal tea or chamomile tea, but setting up a little evening routine so that you can get a good night's rest, because if the rest doesn't happen, then nothing else happens good in your day. So those are really my tips for having a really joyful day.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this. To learn
Thank
more
you.
about Trish, her book, and any of her projects, really, check out her website at mindblowinghappiness.com. It was so great to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danette.